My name's Sarah Miller. I'm 27 years old and I live in Austin, Texas, a city full of creativity, sunshine, and some of the best tacos you'll ever eat. If you told me a year ago that a spontaneous trip with two guys I barely knew would change the way I saw myself, I would have laughed in your face. But it happened. And it all started on a Thursday, the kind of day where everything feels slightly off. I had just gotten off a video call at my remote marketing job, trying to keep my eyes open while my boss talked about Q4 analytics like it was a Netflix thriller. That was the day the message popped up on my phone. Road trip to Colorado? We leave tomorrow morning. You in? It was from Jake. He was a friend of a friend. I'd only met him once, at a barbecue where he spilled ranch dressing on his shirt, and didn't seem to care. That kind of guy. I hesitated. Who was we? He replied. Me and Marcus. You'll like him. Total goofball. We've got space in the truck and a cabin booked near Telluride. Now, I'm not impulsive. I make lists. I color code things. I like plans. But something about the way my life had been going, bland days stacked on top of each other, made me say, sure, I'm in. I threw clothes into a duffel, ignored the dozen, "Are you serious?" texts from my sister, and met the guys at a gas station the next morning. Jake was the same as I remembered, scruffy beard, worn-out baseball cap, always chewing gum. Marcus was taller, quieter, but had this kind energy about him. The kind that made you feel like he actually heard you when you spoke. We loaded into Jake's old Ford F-150 and hit the road. The first few hours were awkward. I kept thinking, what am I doing with two strangers in the middle of Texas? But then something shifted. Maybe it was the road trip playlist, everything from 90s rock to Taylor Swift. Or maybe it was the way we all laughed at how much Jake hated pickles. Either way, walls came down. We stopped at quirky roadside diners. Took turns picking music. Played Would You Rather until it turned into mini therapy sessions. That night, somewhere in New Mexico, Marcus asked, "What's the scariest thing you've done this year?" I thought for a moment. This. Sitting in a truck with two guys I barely know. They laughed. But I wasn't joking. Marcus nodded. Fair. Jake leaned back in the seat. Honestly, this might be mine too. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was understanding. When we arrived in Telluride, the air felt sharper, clearer. The cabin was rustic but cozy, tucked into a hillside that overlooked a valley of gold and green. That first night we built a fire, ate chili from a can, and told stories. Jake talked about how he'd dropped out of law school to start a podcast. Marcus had been working as a paramedic and was considering a switch to teaching. When it was my turn, I hesitated. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm good at my job, but it doesn't excite me. I don't really feel like I know myself anymore. Neither of them said anything for a beat. Then Jake tossed me a marshmallow. You just said yes to a spontaneous trip. You're probably the bravest one here. The hike. The next day, we decided to hike a trail near the San Juan Mountains. Marcus assured us it was easy-ish. It wasn't. I'm no athlete, and after an hour of climbing switchbacks, my legs felt like jelly. I wanted to quit. But Marcus kept encouraging me, not in that fake motivational way, but real grounded stuff. Breathe slower. Step where I step. You got this. Halfway up, it started snowing. Light at first, then heavier. We debated turning back. Jake was all for it. Guys, this is how horror movies start. But I surprised myself. Let's keep going. We're close, right? Another hour, and we reached the ridge. The view breathtaking. Snow-dusted peaks stretched for miles. The sun breaking through the clouds like a scene from a postcard. I didn't realize I was crying until Jake said, "Hey, is that a happy cry or should I be concerned?" It was happy. Overwhelming. Like something inside me had cracked open and light got in. The night that changed everything. Back at the cabin, Marcus and I stayed up late while Jake dozed off on the couch. We talked about everything. Fear. Regret. Hope. I lost someone last year, he said quietly. A friend. In the field. It changed how I see time. Like, I don't want to wait for life to happen to me anymore. That hit hard. I'd been doing exactly that. Waiting. Playing safe. Saying no to risk because it felt comfortable. And here was this stranger who in 2 days had become someone I felt safe with, telling me that life was too short to live on autopilot. When he looked at me and said, "I think you're braver than you think," I believed him. The twist. The next morning, Jake's truck wouldn't start. Dead battery. Middle of nowhere. Snow piling up. We panicked for a moment. No signal, no jump cables, no backup plan. Then out of nowhere, an older couple in a Jeep showed up. They helped us get the truck running again. We offered them coffee. They shared stories of how they'd met at a ski lodge 42 years ago during a similar snowstorm. The woman looked at me as we said goodbye and said, "Sometimes, the unexpected detours lead to the best stories." Back home, when I got back to Austin, everything looked the same, but nothing felt the same. I gave notice at work. Not to quit, but to take a sabbatical. I signed up for a creative writing course. Started hiking local trails. Reached out to old friends I'd lost touch with. Jake's podcast started picking up steam. Marcus? He applied to a teaching program in Denver. We still text every week. We laugh about the hike, the truck, the canned chili. But here's the thing. That trip taught me that life isn't about playing it safe or waiting for the perfect moment. It's about saying yes to something that scares you. Not because you know where it'll lead, but because it might just lead you back to yourself. Final thoughts. So yeah, I took a risk with 2 guys and discovered the unexpected. Not love. Not some wild adventure tale. But clarity. Friendship. The reminder that stories don't have to be huge to be meaningful. Sometimes, they just have to be true. Take the detour. You never know what you'll find there.